Break, any station come in.
Yung breaker po, go ahead. 11, call sign, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is 4H1 EMQ po. This is EMQ from Amadeo Station, over.
Roger that, acknowledge. This is Alpha Lima, Cavite Station on the mobile.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can you give me update lang sa location mo, weather, and working condition mo?
Roger that, acknowledge. So now, ako po ay on mobile, stationary mobile here in Cavite City Public Market. And then, sa ngayon, sobrang init po ng ating weather condition ngayon dito. Napakataas ng humidity level. And working condition ko po is Motorola GM300 with power output of 45 watts. And then, super gainer antenna, over.
Yan, magandang hapon po muli sa inyo, Tri-Nation. Ito na naman po ang inyong lingkod, si BB1. Ayan, so kamusta na po kayo? I hope nasa mabuti po kayong kalagayan ngayon dahil sa alam naman po natin ngayong panahon na to, medyo tagulan na naman at tayo ay binabayo na naman po ng sunod-sunod na mga bagyo. Ayan, so yung iba hindi pa nakaka-recover at meron na naman po tayong bagong bagyo. Ayan, ano po ba yung pangalan ng ating bagyo? Si Caroli. Ayan. So si Quinta, ngayon naman po ay si Caroli, ano. Ayan. So weather forecast lang po, syempre, may parating pong bagyo. Medyo malakas po yung ating bagyo na naman. Kaya humahagibis siya. Ano, parang inyong lingkod, malaking malaki. Ayan po. So ingat lang po tayo ano sa mga bagyo na naman at pag-uusapan po natin ngayon actually kung paano po tayo magpe-prepare sa ating emergency na mangyayari ngayon, ano. So kung halimbawa in terms of emergency, paano po ba tayo dapat maghanda? Ano po ba yung mga pine-prep ninyo kapag paparating yung mga bagyo na kamukha po nito, no? Ayan. So pwede po kayong mag-comment down below sa ating page at para po malaman po natin kung ano po yung ating mga gagawin. Ayan, ano. And then later on, si Sir James ZQC will talk about a little bit of antennas, you know. And then we will chat to him how to prepare also in this disaster zone, ano. Kasi alam niyo naman ng Pilipinas, madalas po tayong binabagyo. Ayan, lalo na po dyan sa may Cordillera, naging bagyo. Ayan, bagyo pala yun, ano. Joke lang po, ayan, sorry. Ngayon, comment lang po kayo, no? Paki-comment nyo lang po sa ating page kung ano po ba yung mga pine-prepare ninyo kapag paparating na yung bagyo. Ayan, ako, ang paborito kong pine-prepare, syempre mga pagkain. Ayan, so kompleto dapat tayo. Ano? Meron tayong spam, may corned beef, ayan, may sausage, tinapay, ayan. Of course, yung mga flashlight na yan and everything. Tapos i-charge natin yung ating mga cellphone, ano. Kung meron kayong generator, syempre kailangan yung generator niyo unang-una merong it's either a diesel or a gas. So dapat meron siyang fuel, ano. And then check nyo rin po siya, baka mamaya hindi umaandar. So now it's the time para i-check nyo po lahat ng inyong mga kailangan para sa emergency ito, ano. And later on, yun nga po, pag-uusapan natin yan with Sir James. And siguro mas maganda tawagin natin let's call on. Ayan na naman po, English na naman, ha. Teka lang, ha. Kukuha lang ako ng tissue. Alam nyo naman, English na naman ito. Ayan, so tawagin po natin yung ating resource person for today, yung ating in-house trainer. Sabi nga, none other than Sir James W3ZQC. So Sir James, please come in. Hello, Sir James.
Hey, how you doing there? All right.
Sorry for the short notice, you know.
Yes. Well, sorry. We're, a lot of persons are doing what they have to do under short notice currently,
Yeah.
and no doubt everyone is preparing for the upcoming storm. We've been getting quite a few here, actually, and I see, just looking at the AccuWeather now, maybe we can actually pull that up at AccuWeather.com, the satellite picture, while we're
Mm-hmm.
discussing here. But in discussing the uh, hurricane slash typhoon uh, preparedness list here, checklist, it's always important to have an emergency kit. Of course, no doubt be aware of your surroundings. Uh, One thing, interesting thing they have here on the list, know the elevation of your property and
Yes.
whether the land is a flood prone area. Also, drainage spots is really everyone's responsibility on the street here that you live on to make sure drains are clear as well. They easily get clogged up. And of course, as far as making plans is concerned, no doubt with the necessary food supplies and so forth. Gas, you already mentioned generator for
Mm-hmm.
power outages, but of course, if you can't do that naturally, most can't. We have plenty of batteries and lights and so forth, um, backup flashlights to keep you going. So,
Yeah.
uh, also, um, as far as too, which a lot of persons don't think about, is a proper evacuation
Plan.
plan as well,
Yes.
just in case something happens here, really catastrophic with your, home or structure or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I seen them taping up windows in some of the
Oh,
stores as well. So
wow.
uh, that's probably not a bad idea if you're doing,
Yes.
have a lot of
Put
windows as
some
well.
board and everything in your windows, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those things there are highly recommended here, and looks like she's just about in and looking at the radar, the area of responsibility here. I don't know. Have you managed to pull up a satellite
Satellite.
picture? AccuWeather.com. www.
Yeah, let's try.
Yeah, let's
Q.
see if we can. I like that. I was trying to
AccuWeather.
expand on that here.
Okay.
And if you can,
And
I
then,
might be able to.
yeah.
I don't know if I have share screen capabilities here, but let's see if we can. Uh, let's see if I can do this right
Yeah, you
now.
try to share screen.
Let's see if we can. So do we see that currently? I'm actually set on Eastern Standard Time for a
Yeah, there you
reason.
go.
There we
Yeah.
go. So she is, you know, she's she's just right on the doorstep right now for us. So it looks like that's going might head right through the heart of Manila, Luzon,
Yeah.
and we have a couple uh, on the north end. It looks like down further south is going to avoid the brunt of the storm right
South
now.
again,
So
yeah. So I think the path
so
is
we
more likely like Quinta, or I think it's different route, right? But same
uh,
northern fork.
yeah, yes. Let's see if I can stop screen.
Yeah.
If you can stop. Okay, there we go.
Pasensya na po kayo, medyo naghahanap lang ng konti.
So, and I think there's a list of all the warnings for the signals as well
Mhm.
for that. So, we have kind of a bare bones today. A lot of persons had a lot of things to do,
Yeah.
including myself. I just have
Busy, yeah.
to check in and out. What we're going to get into is some antenna basics here. And of course, with communication and emergency, For here, your VHF radio, it's not a bad idea to have a battery backup for that. And perhaps we'll do a whole segment on having batteries for your radio, ham radio, VHF, as well as HF is concerned. And also, when we're looking at here, the appropriate antennas as well. Most equipment will be set up post storm. So I just wanted to touch briefly, because we're going to get into that a little bit more in depth next week here and we have planned to touch on that, but a little bit of a change of plan of the transmission lines and antennas that are needed for the HF and the most effective antennas that we can use for communication as well on that note. And normally, just getting into some of the basics here of the of communication. What I was going to discuss here is the radio wave, the distance the radio wave travels, and so forth, and the formulas that we come up with for a particular frequency as well. And it's a very simple formula here, where you take the distance the wavelength travels, and you divide that by the constant of the speed of light, 300,000 meters per second, and then we come up with a and divide it by frequency, and you come up with our meters. So that's how we determine basically 80 meters, 40 meters, 20 meters for a wavelength per band. In fact, let's see if I can share screen again, and so everyone won't be completely lost here. Let's see if we can I'm trying to allow for full screen, but it's not letting me here for some reason.
Try to share the other window.
Okay. Your browser has blocked your screen. Okay.
Application window. Can you share it in application window when you share screen?
Let me see here. Yeah, this ain't going that great. Let's try this one more time here. Let's see if we can pull that up. Yeah, it's not letting me do that right now. I tell you, I got to get tech saving.
Yeah, I think
Technical
it's because of the
difficulty.
storm. Yeah, I think the storm eating up our satellite.
Well, anyway, usually what happens is in determining any sort of wavelength here for a given antenna, here there's a number of formulas that we typically follow for that, and normally what happens is, for example, most of the antennas that we have are for HF band, as we might have anything given are in quarter wavelengths and eighths of a wavelength. So you might have 1/8, you have quarter, you have 3/8, half wavelength, and 5/8. 5/8 is actually very efficient antenna. And let's take a look here I think I sent you a picture of my
Yeah.
antennas,
Should
and
I share
the
both?
yeah, you can share. Let's see if we can come up with uh, the first one.
Right
Are
here.
we up?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're looking at here, of course, with the limited yard space we have here, that is my what we call 20 meter antenna or 14 megahertz. Of course, here looking at that, and that will be a full wavelength of if you did the math and so forth, and speed of light and so forth, at 14 megahertz or 14.1, somewhere in that range, we're looking at a wavelength of 20 meters long per se. So usually antennas are not that efficient for a number of reasons we're getting to later when you make them out to exact wavelengths. So also for practicality and so forth, what we have here is a simple something I threw together, not the best, a 20 meter quarter wavelength vertical. So giving that a wavelength on 14 megahertz is 20 meters long, of course, and 1/4 of that is 5 meters. So what you're looking at is something that is 5 meters long here for the 20 meter band. And I've worked, I work China, Japan regularly with that wavelength. That would be a typical vertical. Now you don't need anything fancy. We know you can get commercially made vertical antennas anywhere from 2 to 10,000 pesos. And some stuff that you can put together for 300 or 400. What you're looking at there, if you zoom in more, let's go in a little bigger because I think everyone can barely see that picture here, and maybe we can cut me out a little bit so we can get a closer look. Is essentially what it is, and then of course we have a different angle here. Someone didn't build that addition till after I put that antenna there, so and that's a different angle. But what we're looking at here is 5 meters, a quarter wavelength, and it's your typical antenna for HF band. Okay, and it's physically again 5 meters long, and I think that's and for most Americans we do in feet that typically would be about 16 and a half feet. If you're designing an antenna, then you want to design it for just a little bit longer than what your calculations will come up with. So you do your calculations and so forth. You come up with that. There's plenty of online calculators that you can have do. We're getting the formulas later, but that would be your typical antenna crowded space. Now, what you don't see also that have antennas that work efficiently is something called ground radios and REDIAL. So those are also laid across the ground or actually buried a few inches in the ground, and they would generally be the same wavelength as the antenna. Or in other words, if this is 5 meters long, then you have some wires laid out that's 5 meters long along the ground, and that's kind of your ground. That causes that antenna to operate more efficiently, much more. So you would need that, and you can have anywhere from typically one, but usually a minimum of 8 up to 20 of these wires that you would like you can bury. So I have about maybe 10 wires buried in the ground right now for that, and that causes that to operate efficiently. Now, what that actually is, believe it or not, is a painter's pole for about 400 pesos.
Yeah.
I took a painter's pole and, you know, did some electrical binding, and now have a, uh, 14 megahertz antenna, quarter wave, for that. Now we have the other one. Let's take a look at the other one. Actually, and that should be standoff. What you don't see is I also have a 10-meter wire also, that's shared, off of um, the connector, so you can have multiple, run a multiple bands, again on one feed line, and you can barely see it. Now I thought it did send you another picture. Do you have another one there of my
Just two picture.
just the two here?
Yeah.
Let me see, because I should have. I thought I sent you this here. This is my 7 megahertz band antenna, and just one moment here
Yeah.
that we got. Maybe we can. Okay, so you should be getting that now. And that is actually for 7 megahertz, or as they say, the 40-meter band. And again, that antenna actually is a quarter wavelength. Again, here. So in actuality, the antenna, if you can pull it up, is 10 meters long. So that's another antenna strictly for the 7 megahertz shortwave band. And it's not pretty, but it's
It's doing a
practical.
job,
So,
yeah.
so what you see there at the bottom is probably about 4-inch
Right here.
PVC tubing wide, and I have it helically wound and then attached to actually painter's pole, aluminum. Actually, there's a coating I had to brush off, and that whole antenna right there is 26 feet long physically. At the very top, I have helically wound, and see, that's another trick you can do when you're building antennas for, again, the high frequency band. If you had the space, they would be enormous. For a dipole antenna, no one has 66 feet. No one has 120 feet for horizontal. So the verticals here are practical, and then you have shortened dipoles. Now, for a quarter wavelength here, what we would be looking at again is about 10 meters or 33 feet for the 7 megahertz band. I could put up a chart, maybe we'll do that later. But the electrically 30 feet long, but physically it could be shorter by doing a couple tricks of
Yes.
doing a helically wound antenna, or putting a coil in the
Yes.
antenna, and then you shorten it. So physically, that's 26 feet. It's something I threw together. You can even do shorter with real inductance coils, and there's a lot on the market. You can make your own as well. Some of the commercially built ones are really excellent for multi-band use. They have one antenna for 4 or 5 HF bands. So those are some simple antennas that you can put together, and there's a number of formulas that we can use for that. There's plenty of online calculators that you can just punch in the the given frequency and so forth, and come up with that, and also shorten antennas as well. And hopefully next week here we might just get a little bit more in depth with a couple formulas and so forth. I'm not prepared for that, but that just gives you an overview of what you have to do, if you're getting in the HF. So you have these shortened vertical antennas. That is a typical HF antenna, especially when you have limited space, like most persons do over here. Again, if you're probably deep in the province, then you can put up a dipole in the trees and so forth, and you have plenty of room there for a 10, 20, 30 meter antenna horizontal. And we'll have some pictures of dipoles and so forth. If you're with the metal roofing we have, that can be used as a ground plane as well, and that's what I actually plan to do if I can, is get one of those up there high. But that's also important that you have a good ground there, and that's really the effective antennas as well. And those type the verticals, the usually are greater distance than the dipole antenna horizontal that you typically see. So they hit the ionosphere just a little bit differently for a greater distance as well.
Okay, so I think that's about it, Sir James.
Okay,
I
so
think,
so hopefully I don't see any bleeding yet, so I guess we did okay for
yeah, I think the audience, they liking what they're hearing, especially those radio enthusiasts of how to properly set up the antennas. And then, like you said, maybe next week we have more in-depth, so that this overview will be marked really that this is how to properly tune your antennas. And actually, I was curious about the HF, because I wanted to really try to HF, because I know when you use the HF band, you can go as far as in our province in the US, right, Sir ZQC? Yes. And also for the VHF band, of course, right now we have the situation, especially in this typhoon months, So I know you will agree with me that sometimes, like what happened in Yolanda before, all of the cell sites are down. So the thing of communication is all about the radios, So I'm glad that we talk about it, this early in our episode today. And actually, I want to expand it more, Sir James. I know it's how do you say this? Mabilisan question in Tagalog, But I think how can we, use these radios, especially in these typhoons, especially when the cell site is down, and then so we have to use our radios, So that's one of the advantages. And can you expound a little bit more, Sir James?
I think you did a good job of covering it, because really, technology is great, the cell phone communication and so forth. But I've been in situations where, let's say back in the States, you're in the middle of a snowstorm, the circuits, and US has probably one of the top communications network in the world. But the cell towers at that time they were just overloaded. Strangely enough, you couldn't get through. And of course, now with the VHF, so you can tie in to the repeater, and then the repeater can tie into the phone system and so forth. So you have an effective network. But the one of the things too is that there's also a misconception too that you need quite a bit of budget money to get involved with the amateur radio emergency communication,
Yeah.
and your budget can vary back there. I've seen 500,000 peso radios,
Wow.
really
Bellissimo,
HF,
yes.
the top of the line,
Mm-hmm.
to 50,000. You can buy used like I did, but behind me, there
Mm-hmm.
usually used that might be going around maybe 20, or you can even get yourself a simple 500 peso. This is a, believe it or
Wow.
not, Morse code
Oh, Morse code.
transmitter,
Yeah.
transceiver
Yes.
for
Yes.
7 megahertz, 1 watt here.
Yeah.
This
But I like the
the
one
600
in the
pesos.
back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like it.
this super. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
it
I
could
think
do a
that
lot,
will. Yes, it will do the
but but
job. You know.
but it just, for so, and then again, as far as antenna is concerned, I didn't have the budget, for a 4 or 5 thousand
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Same
vertical
here.
multi-band,
Yeah.
but here, just from and I just happen to have, because I'm working on another project. This is just a simple painter's pole from Wilcon Depot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for emergency, here you can extend it out. You can carry something very short, and then for all purposes, depending on the band, you can set it up, extend it to the
Yeah.
appropriate length
Mm.
for the given frequency
Yes.
that you have, depending
You
on
have
where
to
you
tune
want to
it.
transmit, for tune it for HF, and then for particularly if you're going attempting to contact long distance from province to province, like from here down to Davao City,
Yeah.
and depending on the configuration, whether it's you know uh, vertical and or
Horizontal.
horizontal into a dipole, you make it a dipole antenna. We're going to demonstrate, show some dipole HF antennas too as well.
Okay.
Actually, you can shorten those. The shorter ones, again, they have coils. There's a lot of tricks of the trade for limited space in any given distance as well. So we need to probably do, with considering what's, with the occurring disasters, maybe a segment too on emergency
Yes.
setup with maybe batteries and so forth,
Yes.
or a
Yes.
little bit more out in the field
Yeah. The
later on,
handheld.
where, yeah, just to go out in the field and set up a portable station
Yes.
per se, without the use
Yes.
of, because this is all fine when you have electrical,
Yes.
power, but then the power goes out. We have to think about
Yes.
alternate. And I've seen some nice setups for the solar panel, using solar
Mhm.
panels
Yes.
and a voltage controller to keep the voltage regulated. So it's a couple hams out there. If you have a few kits, I think maybe we're show some of those where you have your solar panels and also controller, and is operating your radio, VHF radio, HF radio for emergency communications, as well as if there's a network, charging cell phones. And a good example of where amateur radio operators jumped in is when we had the typhoon, I think Yolanda as
Yeah.
well. There was quite a few where the emergency services relied on amateur radio operators / ham radio operators for their services as well. So that's it here.
Okay.
But
Yes,
So-
thank you so much, Sir ZQZ and Sir James, for wonderful presentation. And like you said, talking about the preparedness. Yes, mga Katry Nation, we will do some segment here to how to prepare actually during the disaster. What equipment can we use? Is it handheld or the base? So if going to have a base in our home, to have much power radio, so we have to use inverter, something like that. So what kind of things, or the DIY world, like I read somewhere that you can put a battery or car battery in a UPS. It depends on what kind of UPS it is, but you can convert it also like an inverter, so that you have a power. So, and also the direct 12 volts. Because if you have a base, of course the battery. What kind of battery you should have? Do you have to have lithium, nickel cadmium, or what kind of battery will you have? So in the next few episodes we will talk about that. And also,
Yeah, all of them are good here. Just to reiterate, I think here we just have a simple your usual computer backup,
yes,
APC 650. Now I'm having issues with this, so now I got to take this apart. And normally a lot of these are your lead acid batteries as well. And the problem with them, with any lead acid, even the sealed ones, is just renewing the cells as well. Sometimes the cells dry out.
Yes.
And with any battery, as you know, car battery, you have to preferably distilled water top it off before it completely dries out. Even better if you can get the acid too as well for that cell. And if it's a 12 volt unit, there's usually 2 volts per cell. So you're absolutely right. We will work on prioritizing a segment for that. And even without these inverter, just a 12 volt battery into, a good some solar cells charging a 12 volt battery or inverter in line with the radio. And I've seen some very nice setups that persons take out on the field. If you can't, going up in the mountains, which of course the Try to Contact team for next year, we'll see how far this pandemic. We're planning our field trip up somewhere in the middle and set up our station. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yes, precisely. Yes, thank you so much for that. Yes, so yan po mga ka-Tri Nation, next week or next few episodes. We will try next week actually to have some maybe episode 1 and episode 2, or series 1, series 2 of this preparedness on how to prepare yourself in this typhoon. But for now, thank you so much, Sir ZQC, for your wonderful training for us regarding antennas, and we're looking forward actually next week for that another segment of that. So you want to say thank you for someone, or
just thank you all. Thank you again, Joe. We appreciate your wonderful hosting, and all the persons working behind the scenes as well to keep this program going, no doubt. And we really appreciate all the support that we've gotten on our radio persons here, enthusiasts. So again, we look forward to the next few weeks here, and hopefully we'll have some more to share as well that really would help persons.
Okay, so yan po. Thank you so much again, Sir ZQC, for your being here. We appreciate it so much, and we're glad that you train us again in this wonderful antenna how to set up. So again, thank you so much, Sir ZQC.
Thanks, Joey.
Ayan naman po ang isang nosebleed training. Hindi naman po, no? Ayan, so natutunan po ngayon natin yung setup ng antenna, yung mga height niya, no? Yung mga calculation and everything. So nakita naman po natin talaga namang ang galing ni Sir CQC. Kaya Sir CQC, thank you very much. Ayan. And then yun po, maraming salamat po again sa inyo. At dito na naman po nagtatapos yung ating segment ng Try to Contact. Pero bago po tayo magtapos, please lang po, mag-prepare po tayo, yung ating mga pagkain, yung ating mga battery, yung ating mga, pagkain na naman, yun na nga, sinabi ko na, kauna-unahan. Tapos yung mga cellphone ninyo, i-charge na po natin. And then, kung meron po kayong mga generators, ayan, i-charge na rin natin sila. And then, Kung meron pa po kayo naisip na iba, yan, just prepared. Kung meron AM, FM po kayo na radio, na di battery, mas maganda po para nakakarinig po tayo ng mga bali-balita. Kung wala pa, it's time to invest po. Dahilan sa hindi po natin alam kung kailan mawawalan ng power. Ayan, kaya kailangan po na prepare po tayo. At susunod po ang mga segment natin ay pag-uusapan natin yung tungkol nga po doon sa kung paano tayo maghahanda. Ano yung mga paraan o mga gabay para tayo ay makasurvive sa ganitong mga typhoon. Ayan. At babati lang po tayo, si Sir Ronel Torona. Hello, Ronel, kamusta ka na dyan? Present? Ang mahal naman. Ayan, sabi niya, woohoo. Sabi pa niya, ayan. And then si Adrian Lagas Tuazon, pa-shoutout po. So, shoutout, sir. And nandyan din po si, ano pangalan nito? Sir Randy de la Cruz. Ayan, medyo busy lang po siya. Kaya, Sir Randy, next week Ayan, sige po, pagbutihin nyo lang po yung inyong ginagawa ngayon. Ayan, so, Sir Ronel, miss na kita minsan magkita-kita tayo. At shoutout din po pala sa Boss User Group Philippines. Ayan, kamusta na po kayo dyan? Lalong-lalo na po kay Sir William Go. Nandun dyan si ano na nga yung kanyang yon, basta yung mga taga-boss dyan, si Sir Sunny, kamusta ka na? Si June, nandyan, yung bumubuo po ng Kabwanet. Ayan, kamusta na po kayong lahat dyan? And meron pa kaliputan ba ako? Shoutout. Ayun. So yun po, mga shoutout natin. Ayan. And then gusto ko lang din pong pasalamatan yung aking family. Yung ating Mrs. Hello. BB10. Hello. And then nandiyan po si Kapatang Elena. Thank you so much for this setup again, sa pagtulong mo. And then sa family ko po, ayan, my mother, hello. And then yung mga kapatid ko dyan sa Nueva Ecija. And then Ate Annie, Ma'am Estrita, hello po. At yung kanyang mga angels, lalong-lalo na si Miss Bal, ang kanyang apelyido ay Yena. Ayan, hello. Ayan. And then ganoon din po, hello po sa mga ERT team. Ayan, so kamusta po kayo dyan? And then syempre pasalamatan natin yung Tri-PH Media na si Sir Jules El Presidente, si Sir Rom, si Direct JM, at syempre yung ating professor, si Professor Ralph. Ayan. Of course, yung platinum partners din po natin, yung Ralph Consulting, we support to keep you going. So sila po yung ating mga advocacy partner. Nandiyan din po ang The Happy Giving Trading Company, yung favorite kong company. Ayan, which is sell po sila ng cookware ng Salad Master. Ganoon din po yung Life Extension Philippines. Ayan, the science of a healthier life. Stay healthy, live better. Ayan, try nyo po yung vitamin D3. At napakalaking tulong po niyan, lalong-lalo na sa panahon po natin ngayon na pandemic. At ganoon din po ang LMP Auto Car Care. At syempre ang RDY Marine Electronics. At syempre yung paborito kong La Homa Funeral Homes. We honor the lives of the ones you love. Ayan, so dyan na naman po nagtatapos yung ating segment. Again, maraming salamat po Sir James CQC sa iyong pagkanararito. At sa inyo po, Tri-Nation, ingat-ingat po tayo Stay home po tayo ngayon Kaya ito na naman po ang inyong lingkod, si BB1, na nagsasabing over and out.
Break, any station come in.
Yung breaker po, go ahead. 11 call sign, sir.
Thank you, sir. This is 4H1 EMQ po. This is EMQ from Amadeo Station, over.
Roger that. Acknowledge. This is Alpha Lima, Cavite Station on the mobile.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can you give me update lang sa location mo, weather and working condition mo?
Roger that. Acknowledge. So now, ako po ay on mobile, stationary mobile here in Cavite City Public Market. And then, sa ngayon, sobrang init po ng ating weather condition ngayon dito. Napakataas ng humidity level. And working condition ko po is Motorola GM300 with power output of 45 watts. And then, super gainer antenna,